Hi team, today we are going to be starting topic 6-1, which is multiplying decimals by 10, 100, or 1,000. So the first thing I want to do is review what we have already learned about place value and the value that a digit contains. So I have the number 222 here on our screen, and we have already learned that even though these are all the same digit in this number, they're all the number 2, each of these 2's have a different value. So for example, this 2 that's furthest to the left is really 200. This 2 is really 20. This 2 is just a 2. And we have already learned that when I multiply 2 by 10, it becomes 20. And when I multiply 20 by 10, it becomes 200. So I know that digits can increase in value when they're the same, depending on where they are in the number. That's going to be important as we talk about how we multiply decimals. So I wrote a song lyric here, and I actually wrote it wrong the first time because it's been so long since I sang it. And don't worry, Abby, I'm not going to sing it. But the way that I like to remember value and where my decimal goes when I'm multiplying a decimal is this little jingle of when I move to the right, it's times 10. When I move to the left, it's divided by 10. So today, since we are multiplying decimals by 10, 100, or 1,000, we are going to be moving our decimal to the right one time if it's times 10, 2 times if it's times 100, or 3 times if it's times 1,000. So here we go. Let's look at this first number. We have 9 hundredths times 10. So because I'm multiplying it by 10, there's only 1 0 there. So I'm going to move my decimal to the right 1 time. So my answer would actually be 0 and 9 tenths, which makes sense. If I have 9 hundredths, but I multiply it by 10, it would become 9 tenths. It would increase in value. So I had to move my decimal 1 time because I was multiplying it just by the number 10. If I was dividing by 10, I would move it the other way, but that's actually our next topic. Now let's look at this next one. 3 and 1/10 times 10 to the third power, which if you remember, 10 to the third power is actually 1,000. That little 3 actually means that there are 3 zeros after a 1. So it doesn't mean 10 times 3. It means there are 3 zeros. So it means 1,000. That means I need to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 times to the right in order to solve this problem. So whenever I have a really small decimal, like 3 and 1/10, and I have to move that decimal a bunch of times, I always just rewrite it with a bunch of zeros so that as I move my decimal, I know where to put it in my number. So I've got 1, 2, 3 times, and my answer would become 3,100. Okay, last one that we'll do together, and then we're going to do some more. So I've got 4 and 5/10 times 10. I would only have to move my decimal to the right 1 time, and I would end up with the number 45. So let's look at some and do them along with me on whatever it is that you're using to write your problems today. So I've got 62 hundredths times 100. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my 100 and decide how many zeros are there. 2. So that means I'm going to move my decimal to the right 2 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2. My new number would be written 62 point, and I always want to put a 0 at the end to show that there's something that goes after the decimal. A lot of kids ask, do I still need to write that 0 that was at the beginning? I never do, but if you wrote your number like this, that would still be right, so that's okay. Let's look at our next problem. We have 1 and 24 hundredths times 10 to the second power. So I'm looking at my 10 to the second power, and I need to decide how many zeros would be in that number. So if it's to the second power, that would mean there are 2 zeros. So this actually means 100. So now I'm going to multiply 1 and 24 hundredths by 100. So I need to move my decimal 2 times. 1, 2. My answer would become 124. So today, as you are working through these problems, I find it easiest to use a whiteboard when I am solving them because I often have to add lots of zeros so that when I'm moving that decimal to the right, I have room to know what my answer is going to be. So I really like to use a whiteboard so I can erase it after every single problem, but it is totally up to you. So today, the whole name of the game is moving that decimal to the right for every zero that you see because we're multiplying by 10, 100, and 1,000. All right, can't wait to see what you guys do.